Me, myself, I get familiar with this story as kind of like hearing it maybe a few times in my life, but now, we could take a deeper look at this. Not really too deep, just get a little bit familiar with what's going on here. Ford Fletcher, one of the last survivors of the Tulsa Race Massacre, dies at age 111. Fletcher spent years pushing for justice after a deadly racial attack on thriving black Oklahoma community in 1921. Okay. Oh, that's not what I wanted you to see right there, but there's some numbers right there. But we'll go over here and we'll open this up. Oops, not like that, but we'll go right there. So during the Tulsa Race Massacre of 1921, people were killed by gunfire, arson, and explosives in a coordinated military style attack by a white mob against black residents at the Greenwood district. Viola was 7 when the 2-day attack began on Tulsa's Greenwood district, and this was May 31st, 1921, after a local newspaper published a sensationalized report about a black man accused of assaulting a white woman. As a white mob grew outside the courthouse, black Tulsans with guns who hoped to prevent the man's lynching began showing up. Okay. White residents responded with overwhelming force. Hundreds of people were killed and homes were burned and looted, leaving about 35 city blocks decimated in the prosperous community known as Black Wall Street. So all of this stuff is staged, okay? Right? It's the news, and they'll push this stuff, and then the sheep out there will respond, right? And it still happens to this day. They remember like the looting around the pandemic and all of like the mask stuff, George Floyd, right? Now, now, say if somebody really dies or whatever, yeah, that's a tragedy, but they know the end result when you see right there, sensationalize the report about a black man accused of assaulting a white woman. Of course, that's going to draw uh, violence. You know what I mean? So, the news just kind of eggs this stuff on, right? Because there's a lot of stuff that happens around here that, we don't know about. You know what I'm saying? Maybe in your local town, it's like they pick and choose certain stories to report on. And it's to like draw divide and draw reaction out of us, okay? Because if we knew that this could be the outcome, maybe we wouldn't sensationalize, okay? But this is what they do, and I'm a decoder, so I'm here to tell you that. And I guess you don't have to be a decoder to say that. But even way back in 1921 with this event, nowadays it would be more like a white person assaulting a black person, right? You see how it's flipped back there. Black man accused of assaulting a white woman. You see that? Right. Well, I guess it can go both ways, but I mentioned the George Floyd situation that was white on black, right? This begins black on white, and then the whites respond. But, anyways, okay, so we're going to play this little video, and I have undeniable connections to show you here. Let me set up properly over here. And just super undeniable connections that follow this video. And we're going to go to YouTube, it looks like.
'Twas the night before Christmas when all...
And we're going to get hit with the ads right there.
Up with us on 2 News Oklahoma at 10, I'm Brody Myers. Tulsa is saying goodbye to a pillar of the community. Mother Viola Fletcher passed away at the age of 111. She's a survivor of the 1921 race massacre and spent much of her life fighting for justice. Tonight, we shine a light on her life and legacy.
She was the first Rosie the Riveter.
Viola Ford Fletcher, Mother Fletcher, as she was known, the oldest living survivor of the race massacre. She died Monday at the age of 111.
She set very little limitations on herself to the very end. And I think that's one of the things that was just so incredibly admirable about meeting her.
Andrew Sartan and Dion Osborne led a fundraising effort hoping to purchase a home for Fletcher.
For me, it was a shock to learn that after covering her story for all these years and all these people supporting her from across the nation, she was still living in a senior living home in a shared space.
The pair raised $50,000 on GoFundMe. Of course, Mother Fletcher's death made them adjust their plans. The money will be sent to the family for end-of-life expenses. Despite multiple attempts, we were unable to reach Fletcher's family today. However, back in 2023, I spoke with her grandson, Ike Howard. He said it wasn't until recently that Fletcher began fighting for justice.
She thought in her mind she was protecting her family by not talking about it. She didn't want to have anything to do with it.
Fletcher's impact was felt far and wide, including by Gerald Sanders, a former concierge for American Airlines. He met her several times working for the airline.
The main thing she said was keep your head up, keep going, and do the things that God asked you to do.
But you know that famous adage, it's not just what people said, it's how they made you feel.
She made me feel prideful, that she was one of...
You got to keep your head up. Okay, so open this up right here. And she dies. Oops, I didn't want to do all that. Cancel. Okay, so now let's go back. I don't know how I did that. Okay. Oh, okay, so you can see that. So she died at... Oh, we'll start with this first. She dies at 111, though. But look, she completely connects right here with Oklahoma. Her name's Viola Fletcher. You see that right there? Look at that. Viola, 76 like Oklahoma. Fletcher's got the 41 like Oklahoma. She dies in November. November equals 41. Viola has 31 like Oklahoma. And she dies at 111. Look at that right there. Black equals 11. Tulsa equals 10. And you see that 10. You see the 1 right there. And look at black again. So you get 1, 1, 1. Tulsa Race Massacre. Viola Ford Fletcher dies at 111. Check that out. Okay, this was just trending, and I did this video like yesterday or the day before. The Slender Man stabbing. One of the girls here escaped a group home. Okay, and it's trending now. I believe she got caught, if I remember correctly. Her and her friend I think they lured this other girl, and they ended up stabbing her. Look, that was way back in 2014. Look, it was the anniversary of the Tulsa Race Massacre, the same day. Okay? And that story is trending. And now one of the last survivors of the Tulsa Race Massacre dies. And now they're both trending at the same time. And you see that May 31st date connected with both of them. That's just something that you could say it's a coincidence, but when you say something's a coincidence over and over, and then every day I do this, It's not a coincidence. It's not a coincidence. It's not a coincidence. All right. This is going to connect to another trending story I just did. We have 4 base ciphers with the English language. Okay. Forwards, reverse with the alphabet, reduction applied to both ciphers, totaling 4 base ciphers. Look at reverse reduction. You see that 118? That just hit in the Jimmy Cliff death, another death video that I just did. 118-day span from his birthday to his death date, and you see all the 18s in that story even. So 118, he dies at 81 even. But you get that 118, and now we get another story connected by the numbers. We keep getting stories that are just connected, trending. Okay, so it's a computer pumping out the story. And insert character here by the numbers. It's like a lottery, but it's by the numbers. And look, I mentioned in that video that there was some kind of like black, like kind of like racist kind of energy, because we had 181, you see right there. He was in the film The Harder They Come. 181, that's the 42nd prime number. Slavery equals 42. Okay, so now you see how that connects to this Tulsa race massacre. A white man accused of assaulting I think they say a white woman, I think is what they said. But, and then we get the Tulsa race massacre. And again, we can just go back here. A black man accused of assaulting a white woman. As a white mob grew outside the courthouse, black Tulsans with guns who hoped to prevent the man's lynching began showing up. White residents responded with overwhelming force. Hundreds of black people were killed and homes were burned and looted. You see? And that's all staged. Okay? They could be like, and so you could say it's my opinion. Okay, I get it. But they're saying a white mob grew outside. I think it was orchestrated, you know, by whoever is controlling the world, whoever wants this divide. And you may have had some regular people, as I said earlier, some sheep who were triggered to go along with it. Okay? And if people ever woke up, maybe they can think for themselves and maybe question some of this stuff that happens. Tulsa equals 73. Look at that article back from July 3rd, 2023. What are the odds that it was on 7-3? Viola Ford Fletcher. It was a story about her over 2 years ago. What are the odds that story was on 7-3 and Tulsa equals 73? It just popped up when I was looking into the character here. Even Jimmy Cliff, look at his birthday, 7/30. You see that? Like 73. Look at that right there. And he died on the day leaving 37 days. Jimmy Cliff. And what day did she die? He died November 24th. Look, they died the same day. She's got the May 10th birthday. Look, her birthday was 21 days before the Slender Man stabbing. And the Tulsa Race Massacre was in 1921. I just caught that. On May 31st, the Slender Man stabbing trending. So look how it goes a little deeper there with that connection. May 31st, her birthday, May 10th. Look at that. 21 days before, and the massacre was in 21. Wow. It was 2 days, May 31st. So, and it started on that day. Isn't that amazing? And Morgan Geyser, her birthday was just before that as well, and she's trending. Look, May 16th. You see that? So, kind of like in between Viola's birthday and then, the same day, different years with the Slender Man stabbing and the Tulsa Race Massacre. Look at this. Wow, huh? So, and I came over here just looking at Jimmy Cliff. But yeah, that was the day leaving 37 days, like 73, November 24th. Right there. The day leaving 37. Man. It's just amazing stuff, man. Amazing stuff. So all these stories connecting. I connected Cliff Robinson because this death was all Michael Jordan connections with Jimmy Cliff. His dad's name was James, like Jimmy, you know. But I connected Cliff Livingston because Michael Jordan played with Cliff Livingston in Chicago. And look, he had 53 on his jersey. I connected him in that breakdown right there. And Tulsa Race Massacre equals 53. Isn't that amazing? I think so. I'm just verifying. Pretty sure, I think he was on those Jordan teams. Yes. Winning 2 championships together in 91 and 92. Wow, and their numbers combined equal 76. Look, slave equals 76. You see that right there? So look at all of this race stuff. You see that right there? 76. And look, even Michael Jordan equals 59 and 76. Look at this. Man, that's amazing, isn't it? Amazing.
In your next top 5, this just into the newsroom. Viola Ford Fletcher, one of the last survivors of the 1921 Tulsa Race Massacre, has died at the age of 111. Affectionately known as Mother Fletcher, she was only 7 when her Greenwood neighborhood was destroyed during the Race Massacre. In 2021, she testified before Congress, recalling what had happened on May 31st of 1921. At the time of her testimony, she had just turned 107 years old.
Okay. I turn off the mic when I cough. I don't even know if this mic's broke. Maybe it doesn't shut off. I don't know. But excuse me if you heard me cough. And I'm really good at making these thumbnails. I love making thumbnails. I think that would be awesome to do stuff like that to survive in this world. You know what I mean? Rather than just go and kill our bodies at work. But yeah, I put that together right there. Viola Ford Fletcher, one of the last survivors of the Tulsa Race Massacre, dies at age 111. Spent years pushing for justice after deadly racial attack on thriving black Oklahoma community in 1921. somebody could probably do a deeper breakdown on that event in history, and you could find more connections. I'm sure with that number 111, Oklahoma. Remember the OKC bombings? You could probably put together a whole separate breakdown on that. You could look deeper into her name, Viola Ford Fletcher. There's going to be more with that, I'm sure. Okay, so shout out. The character lived a long time, 111 years. Wow, that doesn't happen a lot. This is what they tell us. Okay, until next time.